not in Kansas anymore.
You have my curiosity.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
The Force will be with you. Assemble.
Welcome back to Get Real, the podcast where we get real about all of our favourite pop culture films and TV show. And my name is Chris, which backwards spells Sirich. And this is my co-host Sam. Sam's a great co-host. Sam's like a brother to me, almost like Sherlock Holmes is a brother to Enola Holmes. We're talking about Enola Holmes. I tried to do like the whole talk directly to camera type intro.
Yeah, I'm Mass, and we got
Scary. I thought about that earlier on in the day, and like I just absolutely nailed it. And I thought of some other things, and I should have wrote it down because as soon as I started, then I just forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was expecting more like a Watson to your Holmes, but it's not really a Watson, is it? It's
no. This is Enola's film. Like I saw plenty of headlines coming out just there, like, "Oh, the new Sherlock Holmes film is great. Henry Cavill's new Sherlock Holmes film is great." I was like, "Sorry, is it his film?"
Yeah, after watching it, it's a bit like, is it?
He's in 3 scenes, is he?
Yeah. We'll get onto that anyway. We will get onto that.
I was just like, that is a clickbait headline if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some serious thoughts about this. Like, anyway, we've got a routine that we've got to follow. Anyway, we've got a routine. So first of all, we need to talk before we talk about news, what have you been watching this week apart from Enola Holmes?
What have I been watching? I've forgotten everything. What have I been watching? I've been actually watching a lot of like video essays and stuff like that on YouTube about loads of different horror films and stuff like that. And one of them actually ties into something that's upcoming, which I didn't realize tied together. I was watching a video about The Bay, which is a film that I recently discovered.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting in the zone for horror films now. It's October. We're ready for the spookiest season of all.
Mm-hmm.
Been watching quite a bit about the presidential election and the shit show that's going on with debates and everything, which is hilarious looking from the outside in, but also horrifying.
Yeah, defo. I heard an amazing British news correspondent like describe that last that very famous debate that they had on TV, and he was like, "It's an absolute catastrophe of American politics."
I loved there was one news anchor in America that was like, it's like a shit show inside of a train wreck, inside of a car crash, inside of another train wreck.
Of course it is, because what else were you expecting? Let's be absolutely honest.
I think it was Stephen Colbert doing his monologue on The Late Show afterwards, and he was just there like, somebody described it as a shit show. First of all, it's an insult to shows, and also, at least after a shit, I normally feel satisfied.
Well, yeah, what a mess.
Yeah, what else have I been watching? I have watched something and I've completely forgotten what. I watched some stuff over the weekend. I can't remember. Sam, what have you been watching?
So I've continued my venture with The Walking Dead.
Okay, where are you up to?
So, well, basically, Herschel's just had his leg lopped off.
Oh, yeah.
And they met. I completely forgot in the prison there was actually people inside the prison as well.
Yeah, the prisoners, the ginger fella and everything like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's just introduced the governor. So that's where I've got up to. Man, The Walking Dead moves really quick in the first couple of, first 2 seasons. It moves so fast. Like,
in retrospect, yeah, I remember watching it and it felt like a bit of a plot, didn't it? But in retrospect, you're like, holy shit, that was only the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that's why it probably feels like the later seasons feel like they drag a lot, because it moves so fast. Like, you're actually at Herschel's farm for maybe the best part of like 3 or 4 episodes before you then move on. And then
it's crazy.
I'm at the prison, and like I say, Herschel's already getting his leg lopped off pretty soon, which is like, I forgot how early that happens. And then, you've got the governor already. You've got Merle back. I thought it was always like huge spoilers for The Walking Dead if you've never watched it. But
I mean, that season's like 6 years older at this point.
It's pretty old by now. But yeah, wow, it moves so fast. So
are you on season 3 now?
Let me just consult my Amazon Prime for you.
I'm thinking so if it's the governor, isn't it?
Also, what the hell is going on with Amazon Prime? Because there used to always be a continue watching section, and now I can just never find it.
No, I've always had this problem. I think it's one of the worst laid out fucking streaming services there ever is. Right, I'm going to call them out right now.
Even though it looks just like Netflix, but it's just the way that it's organised is really weird. Season 3, episode 3, by the way. Season 3, I'm on. Yeah.
So, like, Amazon Prime, they do not structure anything. And, like, the suggestions are just awful. Like, and they just let anybody upload stuff on there now. There's YouTube videos that appear to be movies. Like, you're searching for movies, and it's just like an hour-long YouTube video or something like that. Yeah. That's been re-uploaded as part of a series. Somebody's trying to upload stuff to it. And, like, it's just like, they just dump stuff on there and leave it to live on there. Like you said, there's no continue watching. Every time that I want to watch a new episode of The Boys every Friday, The Boys, like on Netflix, if you went on and you're on a series and a new episode's just come out, it's the first thing that'll come up on that day is like, do you want to watch the brand new episode that dropped out today? It's like, of course I do. Why else am I tuning in to Netflix at like 9 o'clock on a Friday morning? Or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird. You have to
but
press.
It doesn't. And every time I go to watch a new episode of The Boys, it says that I've completely watched this season. So then I click onto it, and it's like, right, okay, do you want to finish watching the credits from the last episode? I'm like, no. It's like, do you want to? It doesn't say, do you want to play the next episode? Like, I need to go searching for the next episode, and I'm like, this is just not well structured. If you get halfway through a film, you need to go into the search bar and search for the film again to find it. There's no continue watching section.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. Like, you have to click on home first to then bring up the watch next, it's called. But then it's not even at the top. You've got your Amazon originals, your top rated, and then it has then your watch next. So that's
sometimes for me it's like 6 things down. Like, you know, it'll have like the other channels that they host, you know, like Shudder. I don't think Shudder's on there actually, but like Stars and stuff like that, like the ones that you have to pay additional fees for. Like, it'll bring all them channels up first. I'm like, just give me the shit that I'm paying for already.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
The Hobbit... like, the top row is always stuff that you need to pay extra for. Like, it advertised movies that aren't part of the subscription service.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem with it, to be fair, because you've always got... You always see the things like I'm scrolling down now and I've got The Lighthouse and The Hunt, right? Which are two films that I definitely want to watch, but... Yeah. They're not free. They're not part of Prime. It's just, oh, by the way, they're on Amazon. You can buy them through Amazon if you want. But no, I've got my Prime service so that I can stream stuff through Prime for free. I don't, and then you have this free to me bit that you have to press on, so you can see all the things that. Oh yeah, well anyway. Speaking of Prime, I was just having a little look, and you've got Queen and Slim out on Prime Video now.
Okay, cool.
Which was something that we saw as a trailer last time we went and watched a film that looked pretty good. And also,
Queen and Slim was before Knives Out, wasn't it?
It may have been. I think I remember it being at our local cinema when we saw it advertised.
Yeah, it was at like beginning of the year because I was thinking of this a second ago. What else? We talked about The Lighthouse that came out at the beginning of the year and still haven't had a chance to see it yet because obviously couldn't go out and buy it anywhere.
No.
And then it's not been on streaming services. You just told me it's on Amazon Prime to pay for now, so I'll probably rent it on there because I really want to watch The Lighthouse.
Yeah, there's quite a few decent things. I think it's changed it a little bit now, so there's like a little currency symbol next to the things that you can choose to rent or buy.
Because it used to just be like you needed to look for the little Prime sticker in the corner, didn't you? And if you had that, you could watch it for free. I just think it's an awfully laid out streaming service.
Yeah.
Considering how much you're paying for it every month as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, you get it as part of your Amazon Prime anyway. So if you're using Amazon Prime, it's probably look. This isn't we're not reviewing the Amazon Prime membership on here.
We just have a few gripes with it.
We just had to get that off our chest. Also,
back to The Walking Dead.
So yeah, back to The Walking Dead. Yeah, I'm actually quite excited for it to get on to the later seasons when you get Negan and stuff, because I've actually you look at some of the series out now and they don't move anywhere near as fast as those first couple of episodes and seasons of The Walking Dead. So I don't know, maybe whether going back, I might actually find it a little bit more forgiving, because I'd maybe compare the pace to it to things like Iron Fist and Jessica Jones, because I felt like they moved pretty slow. They didn't.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like when you started saying it, it's like the series has sort of progressed from when The Walking Dead started. Like The Walking Dead sort of hit the peak of like when TV and series became like the next big thing, didn't they? Like they were up there with films again after stuff like The Walking Dead and these huge big budget shows started, like Game of Thrones and stuff.
Yeah.
So The Walking Dead before that was like a typical TV show, and it had to move at like quite a fast pace and do a lot of things to keep people coming back every week. But then you got these bigger budget things, and people sort of became a bit more forgiving of long form storytelling. So then you had like slower seasons of Game of Thrones, or different like A-list film series and stuff like that. Like you got all the film stars coming back to be in series now because it's a bigger narrative and it's told over a longer period of time. It takes a chance to breathe and stuff, doesn't it? So it's like since The Walking Dead has started, it's sort of changed with the landscape of series.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I'm actually going to quite enjoy revisiting it, because I'm almost a little bit uncomfortable with how fast it's moved. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to go back to it. It
was weird you're saying as well. Like, so that's season 3, and because I read the graphic novels of The Walking Dead, the prison is the 3rd and 4th one. So you're just starting season 3 now, and you're already into volume 3 and 4. But then later on, like it took like a season to build up to Transit, and then you had the season with Transit. It took a season to build up to Negan, then you had a season with Negan. It's like you're going through like 3 big plot points already. Is the first season, then getting and the Center for Disease Control. And then
that's episode 3, 4.
Yeah.
That's fast. That's like the end of season 1 is the CDC.
Yeah. And then you've got the farm, like you said, and then you've got whatever the town is that the governor's from, and the prison, all at the same time. Like, and that's happened in basically 2 seasons, because you're at the beginning of season 3, and like that each would take like 6 seasons in modern Walking Day stories, episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Something that I've not started watching, but I'm actually quite interested in checking out, is Utopia, which is the new Rainn Wilson series on Amazon Prime as well.
Yeah. So there's already been a version of this on British TV. I think it was Channel 4 and E4 put it out a few years ago. And I saw a bit of that, and it is a really interesting concept. So I am excited to check that out. That's on Amazon as well, is it? Amazon's got some great stuff coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about some of that stuff in trailers.
A lot of the streaming services are doing pretty well at the moment, because there's not a lot coming out in terms of cinema releases. It's probably a good time for the streaming services to kind of plant some of the things like Enola Holmes and stuff like that, I guess.
I think a lot of the ones that are coming out as well were probably filmed for cinema and stuff like that, but obviously production companies and stuff have piled money into it, and they need to get the money back to fund the next lot of projects and everything, so they're selling them off to streaming services as well, like stuff that says it'll be like a Netflix original or an Amazon original. It's like it wasn't intended that way, but they've bought it, so they're airing it as that.
Yeah.
So they're basically buying the film off them to then put on their streaming service. So I think that's why we're getting a lot of like these big like films that would typically only be in cinemas.
Plus, Rainn Wilson's in this from The Office, and
yeah,
I really like him. So Yeah.
I've got like a chili seed in the back of my throat, and I can feel it just like burning away.
What did you have for dinner?
We had a chili beef stir fry.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, it was really nice, like a Korean stir fry. But I've just got like, I can feel like a chili seed in the back of my throat, and it's just the more I'm talking, the hotter it's getting.
Well, I'll take over with a little bit of news then, and let you kind of let you chill a little bit.
Try to wash it out.
So there's quite a bit in terms of movie news and casting before we move on to the main topic. So I don't know whether you want me to kick off or whether there's something that you want to talk about first. Right,
kick off.
So let me have a real quick look at the old news wagon. News wagon? Don't know where that came from. First thing is Samuel L. Jackson signs on for a Nick Fury series on Disney Plus.
Yes, I've been watching so much shit about this. Yes. A lot of people, I don't know if this is what it says in your article that you've got, are theorizing it could be like the spiritual successor to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and being Agents of S.W.O.R.D.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that's where we know his story is at the moment. And it could possibly sow the seeds for maybe the next Avengers film being a secret invasion or something like that, because we've already got the Skrulls being implanted inside our societies.
Yeah, but I mean, for something like that, I imagine it'd probably have to be more of like a limited series to set up something for the films. I don't know whether this is going to be a bit like the Nick Fury file. I know the Nick Fury files is something that we've already got, which is kind of like talking about all the different superheroes. I don't know whether this is going to be kind of like an Adventures of thing, maybe, which just shows him being a bit more grounded. I don't know. But we don't really tend to get Samuel L. Jackson in anything TV. He just tends to be with films, doesn't he? So quite excited for this.
Excuse me. I tell you what, I did watch actually. I just remembered.
I thought that was
called...
excuse me, he was in this TV series. That's what.
Well, he was. It was a BBC series that it's been filmed over webcams during lockdown. I think it was called Staged with Michael Sheen and not Michael Sheen. What's his name? Yeah, David Tennant in and let me double check his name. It's not Michael Sheen, is it? It was Michael Sheen. It's just Sheen spelt differently from the other Michael Sheen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got Michael Sheen in it. And they're meant to be in a stage production together, and obviously COVID hit, so they took the rehearsals online and stuff like that. And it's just two like actors struggling with lockdown and letting their egos get in the way, so they're basically playing alternate, like heightened versions of themselves. And Samuel L. Jackson's in that. He appears in it. He was meant to have the role that Michael Sheen gets, so him and David Tennant are giving some back and forth.
Interesting. Snyder Justice League reshoots to feature Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, Henry Cavill, but Henry Cavill came out to say that he wasn't going to be part of the reshoots.
Yeah,
we didn't cover this last week, but it's kind of old news, I guess.
It's apparently because the filming conflicts with The Witcher Season 2 being back in production.
Which is exciting.
So either they're going to dodge around Superman, or people were saying instead of just having a CGI mouth, we're going to have an entirely CGI Superman
Very
in
good.
those scenes that you can't shoot.
I mean, don't have your glass half full. You may as well just totally CGI. It'll probably come out better, to be fair, than the CGI mustache face.
Or just shoot around him, you know what I mean, if you have to. Like, because Superman had so much of the film shot that didn't make it into that version. Like, they reshot everything with Superman. Mm-hmm. So they've got enough Superman there, surely.
Yeah, probably. But I like how the story is that this was going to cost Warner Brothers, like, I don't know, what was it, like 20 million to do it?
The new budget is what, like 70 million?
Yeah, I think it's getting up to 70. There's a lot of casting news this week, which will kind of roll into one, I guess, because I guess it makes more sense to cover off the casting in one little bit. I've got some other news. So Avatar 2 officially wraps filming. Filming being the key word there. It's wrapped filming.
And the filming is what, like 2% of the film, the rest of it's all CGI. So
yeah, literally. So it's kind of crazy to think how much of this has actually been shot and kept quite under wraps. I know we've seen some behind the scenes footage, or photos, sorry, of the underwater filming that they've done, but we kind of not seen too much from the whole Avatar production camp.
I think they do have the benefit of, like, the filming that they're going to be doing it is in mocap suits largely, so it's all going to be on sound stages and stuff like that. It's all going to be in sealed off, like, sets. It's not so much as, like, we always get leaks from Marvel films and other films from, like, street photos and behind the scenes photos that, like, the paparazzi have taken and stuff, haven't they?
Yeah.
So because it's all going to be shot basically inside of a warehouse, like, they have got the privacy of that, and anybody that leaks it on the set will probably get fired, and it's one of the biggest movies that'll ever come out, so they don't want to get fired.
I've got a quote here from James Cameron regarding the filming of Avatar 2, and I find this really interesting. So we lost about 4.5 months of production as part of the virus. As a result of that, we've rolled around one more full year for a release of December in 2022, sorry, not 2020. Yeah. That's been announced already. Now, that doesn't mean I have an extra year to finish the film, because the day we deliver Avatar 2, we'll just start working on finishing Avatar 3. So where we are right now, I'm down in New Zealand shooting. We're shooting the remainder of the live action. We've got about 10% left to go. We're 100% complete on Avatar 2, and we're sort of 95% complete on Avatar 3. What?
Oh. Yeah, but so this has been like common knowledge for a while that they were shooting at least 2 of them back to back. So clearly they were able to just roll filming from one into the other.
Yeah,
because then obviously most of the work and most of the time is going to be spent on CG and editing, because obviously they'll have to CG most of the shots to then edit into the shots and everything. So that's where the bulk of the Avatar process will come in, won't it?
Yeah.
Not so much on set, because those films are basically CGI for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds really weird and bizarre hearing that, but it makes sense when you start to break it down in your head about how they actually produce these things.
It's just weird to hear, like, the Avatar 3 is 95% done.
Yeah.
And we've not seen Avatar 2 yet.
But that's just, like, principal photography, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and let's face it, the Avatar films are probably about 30% principal photography, and then the rest of it's all effects and wow.
Well, that's the thing. Like their lead actor from the last one is now a Na'vi as well, so it's just him in a ping pong suit pretending to swim.
You don't even.
The rest is done in post.
You don't even need the actor for it, really.
I'm gonna be fascinated to see the behind the scenes of this though, because obviously they're doing motion capture stuff, but they're doing it actually in a water tank, aren't they, to get the water and the swimming like realistic, which is kind of mind blowing. That like, so we've gone from the point of CGI being terrible, like say in the late 90s, to then the leaps and bounds that happened with, say, Lord of the Rings, especially with Gollum and being like a fully CG character and stuff like that, and then the whole Imaginarium stuff with Andy Serkis and motion tracking and everything like that. And that's got to a point now where it's flawless near enough. To then being able to do that underwater.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, the Avatar films, for me, like the story is hit and miss, but just the sheer creative filmmaking side of it, like the behind the scenes, is what's the most fascinating. Like, I would go to the cinema and watch a 2-hour behind the scenes of the film rather than seeing the film.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's one of those films where you do take the time to watch the bonus features on the DVD.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got any more general snooze before we move on to casting news?
General snooze news, I do.
News.
Okay, first things first, Mulan is moving to other streaming services starting next week. So starting Tuesday, October 6th, it's going to be available on Amazon Prime Video, Vudu, and Fandango now.
Cool.
I think Prime Video is the only one available in the UK. It's going to be the same price that it is to rent on Disney Plus, so it's going to be $30 in the US, or I'm going to guess £20 in the UK.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll help the numbers for it a lot more and help it reach a wider audience and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good that it's finally going to get a bigger audience now. So
yeah, defo.
And I think they were limiting themselves just having it on Disney Plus as well. Anyway,
yeah,
because I don't think every country now has Disney Plus yet. So
does it not?
It is what it is.
Does it not?
I don't think so. I think obviously the main countries for streaming services do, but like every country has Netflix now. But I don't think every single country around the world will have Disney Plus.
Okay, interesting.
Or at least not their version of it. They might be like using a different country's version of it. I don't think it's fully localized everywhere. I might be wrong about that.
Let us know.
The Lion King 2 has been announced.
Oh, okay.
With Barry Jenkins directing it.
Interesting.
Instead of Jon Favreau. Barry Jenkins, of course, has been Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk and stuff like that. He's been doing a lot of amazing work lately. There was something else came out about Barry Jenkins a couple of weeks ago, so another film that he's working on. I think we might have spoke about it on the podcast, but I can't remember now. It's evading my memory. But The Lion King 2, I still haven't seen the other one.
What? What do you mean you've not seen the other one? You've not seen the latest live action? Well, I say live action.
No, because I really liked the original, and I was just like, everyone was just saying it was soulless and everything like that. I was like,
yeah,
it
was, but it was definitely like amazing to watch. Like it was incredible just to see how far it had pushed CGI.
Okay. I'll definitely check it out at some point. It's on Disney Plus now. Like, I don't need to pay an extra fee to watch it now, so I'm more inclined to watch it.
Well, you
Although
have to watch
I did go back and watch the animated version a couple months ago.
Yeah, but when you watch the latest version of The Lion King, and I don't know whether listeners would agree, but you have to like put out your mind. You have to recognize the fact that it is a little bit soulless because obviously, you're not seeing much expression in any of the animals' faces. But it is a good film. It is really like amazing looking. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth watching, man. You should definitely go give it a watch.
Okay. No, I'm not opposed to watching it. I was just like, I don't really feel the need to go and.
You better go give it a fucking watch, Chris.
Like I was just like, oh, well, I might not go and pay to watch it. You know what I mean? Okay. The Godfather.
I don't know what you mean, Chris. I pay to watch all my films.
No, but I meant like, especially because when it came out, Disney Plus was already on the horizon and everything like that. So
yeah, it's on Disney Plus, isn't it?
It is now, yeah. So
there you go.
I'll check it out on there. The Godfather 3 is getting re-released with the director's cut, and they're changing the name of it.
Why?
So it's not going to be called The Godfather Part 3 anymore. It's going to be called The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone.
Okay.
Why, like, 46 years after the film originally released? I think that's the right maths.
Is it?
Yep, 46 years after the original release, they need to change the name of it, but...
Does it need
They are doing it. It's getting a director's cut, which is interesting. Although this is definitely the least well received out of all of the Godfather films. Maybe the director's cut's going to be a lot better. We'll find out. Maybe they'll cut out some of the horrific acting from Coppola's daughter. Sofia Coppola? Because I remember some of her acting being awful in it.
I need to watch.
Have you seen any of the Godfathers?
No.
Right.
Why am I on a film? Look, I've not watched a lot
I feel
of
like this is
classic
something
films.
we discuss like every year. Is like, oh mate, we just need to sit down and watch the Godfather films. I feel like that would be a really good episode. Is like you watching the Godfather films for the first time, and we just discuss the trilogy, and just like see what you think. Now being, we're both 25 now. It's 2020. These films have been out for like the original came out over 50 years ago.
And I'll tell you
Like-
what the story was.
Exactly. Like, see how you feel. Like, obviously, you've seen it being referenced in everything. Like, it's just a part of pop culture now. Like, people know The Godfather. You know The Godfather, but you've never seen The Godfather. So
No,
that'd be an interesting.
Yeah, you get
Like-
the references. I know the references, and I know, you know things.
to me on this the day of my daughter's wedding.
Yeah,
You know the quotes, like, but you've never seen it. Like, The Godfather Part 2, man. It's
it does
Fantastic.
get very mixed up in my head between The Godfather and Scarface, though.
Yeah, just Al Pacino. Every Al Pacino role just rolls into one in your head. He's
I
just
am
playing
just-
Scarface in
Yeah.
every film.
I've just like absolutely lost the fucking respect for all the listeners that we have that are into like their
Our listenership has just died. Like, they're
yeah.
just gone.
Sorry about that.
No, that's pretty funny, though. Like, at least it was 2 films with Al Pacino in. It wasn't just there, like, I always get The Godfather and Star Wars mixed up,
Well, at least I'm being honest about it, right?
Yeah, you could be one of those people that just, like, lies about having watched the Godfather films, like, and they're just there, like, oh, yeah, I've definitely sat through, like 8 hours worth of the Godfather. Yeah, definitely.
Nah, I'll just be honest and be like, yeah, never seen it.
Like, I watched these films for the first time when I was way too young to watch them. I think I was, like, 12 or something like that, and I watched The Godfather with my granddad. I was like, this film's
Yeah,
cool.
because The Godfather.
And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch all of them.
Yeah.
And the third one was just like, as a 12-year-old, I was like, what am I watching right now?
Well, I'm right in saying The Godfather's the one with the horse head, isn't it, in the bed?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see?
He knows things.
I know things.
But
Stuff
it was
and
it, like,
things.
so I've never gone back and watched the third one. I've watched the first 2 like a couple times now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we need to watch The Godfather and do a Godfather episode. That'd be good. We should do stuff like watch the classic films that we haven't seen and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like a lot of like the IMDb top 250 or something like that. Like, I've seen a lot of them, like a lot of the good ones, but there's definitely going to be a few in there that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I was listening to someone on a podcast the other week who was basically working through the top 250 on IMDb and said that they ended up like watching some films that they had to watch with just subtitles because they'd like had no idea there was no English versions of the film.
Yeah.
And there was some which didn't even have subtitles, like just some crazy films that they've ended up watching. But yeah,
like some that didn't get localized and get stuff.
got anything else before casting?
Yes. Well, this is kind of casting, but it's not like AAA blockbuster superhero casting. But it's to do with The Godfather. I don't know if you had this in your list.
Probably not. It's The Godfather. I've not seen it.
Barry Levinson is directing a film about the making of the Godfather films. So I think it's going to be around the production of Godfather and Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
And so Oscar Isaac has been cast as Francis Ford Coppola, the man himself. And Jake Gyllenhaal has been cast as the film producer Bob Evans, who produced both of them.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting.
And I don't know who's been cast as Marlon Brando or Al Pacino yet. Don't know about that casting. That's going to be interesting, especially for like Al Pacino. Like, I think people have played Marlon Brando before, but I don't think anyone's ever played Al Pacino unless it was like in a sketch show. And with him still being an active actor to this day, and then somebody pretending to be him, it's just going to be a bit weird. But yeah, like Barry Levinson, if you don't know him, he did Good Morning Vietnam. He did was the film that I mentioned earlier, The Bay, the horror film that I was talking about, like the found footage horror film. Moonlight. Oh no, that's Barry Jenkins. I typed in Barry and it went to Barry Jenkins. God damn. Barry Levinson, let's go back. Rain Man. Rain Man was the film I was talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Good Morning Vietnam. Wow, love that film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. that's a film that's coming out.
Cool.
That's that bit of casting. One last bit before it gets to casting. We've got our first images of Chadwick Boseman's last on-screen performance.
Oh, okay.
So this is going to be a Netflix film. It's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So it's based off a stage production from based in Chicago in the 1920s. The description here says it's a chronicle of the 20th century African American experience. The play is set in Chicago in the 1920s and deals with issues of race, art, religion, and the historic exploitation of black recording artists by white producers. So it looks like Chadwick Boseman is playing a black singer, I believe, from the photos that we've got. Obviously being exploited by in the recording artists around blues and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But this will sadly be his last on-screen performance. It's coming to Netflix though, so we all get a chance to watch his last performance, which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that doesn't have a Netflix subscription, so everyone can check out his last performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that'll be keen to watch.
Yeah. So that's the last bit before trailers and casting, I guess. So should we dive into casting?
Yeah, so a couple of casting bits. We have a rumoured casting, I think it might actually be confirmed at this point, for Hawkman in the Black Adam film. That is going to be Aldis Hodge. He was in
The Invisible Man.
Hidden
that came
Figures,
out earlier this year.
Straight Outta Compton, Invisible Man. Yeah, he's going to be our Hawkman.
He was great in The Invisible Man as well.
Yeah, I've still not seen it.
Oh, it's great. It's a good film.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really enjoyed that.
We have Miss Marvel casting.
Yes,
Iman
we do.
Vellani?
Yeah, I'll say that, yeah.
Eman Vellani?
There's something like that. She's a young Canadian actress. I know that much.
Yeah, so she's only 18, which is perfect, obviously, for Ms. Marvel. Absolutely perfect.
I think Ms. Marvel is like 16, 17 normally.
But yeah, absolutely awesome. Can't wait to see Kamala Khan. It's going to be a Disney Plus TV show, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, she's... Literally, there's like not much known about her.
If you've played the Avengers game, she's in the Avengers game.
Sorry, I meant the actress.
Okay.
There's literally like this seems to be like a breakout role. Like she's been so lucky to get this casting, so let's see how she does. Like I'm super hyped for it. Yeah, like you said, the new Avengers game. Kamala Khan is basically the main character in the beginning of the game. She's like your point of view character into the story. She's a really interesting character. I think she was definitely the first mainstream American Pakistani superhero. So it's a really important thing. She was the first Muslim superhero to really hit the big time and everything. So Marvel are definitely going for like inclusivity and everything like that, and it's a really important story to tell. I hope she gets some on-screen interactions with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel.
Well, Kevin Feige's already come out and said that reportedly plans on using the same actress, Eman, in both the Disney Plus series and future Marvel films, which means that you might get to see her on screen with Brie Larson as Captain Marvel as well.
Yeah, cool. Maybe in Captain Marvel 2 we might get a bit of a... But again, I think this is leading up to the Young Avengers. We keep talking about this all the time. We knew Miss Marvel was confirmed. She's on the Champions team with like Miles Morales and Nova and stuff like that, which is like a subsection of the Young Avengers. So it definitely seems like they're gearing up to have a new Avengers film and a Young Avengers film working concurrently. So yeah, that like it's so good that we finally get to see more representation from the MCU.
Yeah, 100%. Any other castings?
Yeah, we had She-Hulk for the MCU has been cast as well. Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black. She is fantastic in that. She's an actress that needs to be in so much more stuff. There's been mock-ups of what she could look like as She-Hulk as well. So yeah, definitely. What What else has Tatiana Maslany been in? She was in quite a few films after Orphan Black wrapped.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just do a quick Google search in case somebody hasn't seen Orphan Black. Stronger, which was the Jake Gyllenhaal with no legs film. Anything else that people might have seen? No, it's just a lot of indie films by the look of it. Eastern Promises. I didn't realize she was in that back in 2007. Anyway, she is fantastic. Go watch Orphan Black. It's on Netflix. It's fantastic. Like, she plays like 12 different characters in that show.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's just often acting by herself with like 4 different versions of herself in a scene. And she just nails it. Everything
Awesome.
Just amazing. So she's going to be great in She-Hulk. A really interesting casting. Like, people were obviously tossing about like characters that like actresses and stuff that typically play like these big macho roles and stuff. Like, people were saying like Ronda Rousey and stuff like that, like people who you could see in this role like physically, but going for like casting like Tatiana Maslany is like a bit out of left field, but she has got the chops to carry a series by herself. So
awesome. Cool. Right, so in terms of trailers, we need to be a little bit conscious of time. We're bordering into our 42 minutes as of right now.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to pick a couple of the trailers to talk about, and then we can just get on to Enola Holmes then. So first one I want to talk about is the Sound of Metal trailer, which dropped while we were recording last week. With Riz Ahmed and... help me out.
I don't know. Let's do a quick Google search. Olivia Cook.
Cool. This looks really good. This looks really, really good. Like,
it did. Like, was it an A24 film? Was it, or was that a different? No, that was a different trailer that I watched.
No, this is an Amazon Studios film. It's distributed by Amazon Studios.
Yeah.
Looks really good. Looks awesome. It touches on a heavy metal drummer's life thrown into freefall when he begins to lose his hearing, but it just looks amazing.
It does. Yeah. And there's lots of scenes from the trailer. It seems like you put in his point of view a lot. Like, you're not hearing. Like, it seemed like a very silent trailer. Like, you could hear him shouting, but you could only hear other people talking. Like, when he was wearing like hearing aids or headphones or something like that, like he couldn't, like, you were put in his position, which is a really interesting thing to do with a character that's deaf. Normally you see it from the outside, but it seems like they're doing some really interesting things with how they've portrayed it.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is this film actually came out in 2019, but it's only just being picked up by Amazon for distribution in the next couple of weeks. Is it?
December 4th it's
December
being brought
4th.
to Amazon Prime.
December 4th.
Yeah, it aired at the Toronto Film Festival last year, so that's why it says 2019 on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of films like this, especially more indie films, it takes a year before they get publication. They air it all the film festivals, and then they try and find distribution after that.
Yeah. Next trailer to talk about. We need to talk about this new Iron Mask trailer. we just have to, because we talked about it last time there was an Iron Mask trailer.
Yeah, which was near the beginning of the podcast, and like this trailer came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, this film comes out in like 3 months, and then obviously pandemic happened.
Yeah,
and now there's a new trailer.
We had some very strong opinions on the CGI for this.
It looks marginally better.
Well, everything apart from that bleeding dragon looks okay.
Yeah, like the rest of the CGI looks a bit more nailed down. The dragon looks better, but still not great.
No, it the first trailer,
lighting on it is just all wrong.
It was just not ready. It was just absolutely not ready. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what the Iron Mask is about. I don't think this trailer gives you any idea what it's going to be about.
Well, it seems like this entire trailer and the first trailer as well, it makes the film seem like it's about Jackie Chan's character. When the Iron Mask is the man in the Iron Mask, which you see in the trailer. And but it seems like it says Legends Collide, so I think they're crossing over the man in the Iron Mask with like a Chinese tale or story. I can't think of the word, legend or something like that.
Yeah.
Because this is a production out of China mostly. That's why it's got a largely Chinese cast and everything like that. They've just brought in the big actors. Like, this is like one of the big ones. China was doing this whole thing of trying to launch their version of Hollywood and Bollywood and all that. So they were trying to pump a load of money into the film industry.
Yeah.
So they got Arnie and they got Jackie Chan, because they were like, they're two names that around the world they'll get bums in seats. So that's why near enough the entire trailer is those two fighting.
Yeah.
I feel like between these two trailers, we've seen that entire fight scene.
So we were talking about Walking Dead before. What about Minari? You've seen the trailer for Minari. What do you think?
Oh, I have, yes. Have you seen the trailer for this one?
Currently just watching it. I'm not watching it with any volume.
So this has got Stephen Yu from
Glenn in
from The Walking Dead. Yeah. He was also in what was that Office film? I can't remember now. He plays a Korean man who comes to America with his family, buys a plot of land and a trailer to start a farm, and it's a tale about the American dream and Asian people's place within American culture and their belief systems and everything, because Korea is a heavily Christian country as well. So trying to fit in with the local churchgoers and everything like that, and trials and tribulations of being from another country and trying to follow the American dream, trying to provide a new family for new life for your family. But obviously, like the quote that I saw in the trailer that really spoke to me was, "This film's going to break your heart into a million pieces and then fix it piece by piece." So I was like, it seems like a really heartwarming A24. Like, it gave me sort of the Farewell vibes, like a young Asian filmmaker going out there and making a story that's important to them. Really, like, trying to shine light on the different aspects of the Western world, like the multiculturalism of it, and like other people's place in it, other than just like a white person's place in modern America.
Do you reckon it's gonna have more people in here? Like, I would say more people in here, like it's physically bums in seats. But do you reckon it's gonna do better off the back of something like Parasite, because of how well that's been received? And not to say that purely because of Parasite being a Korean film and then this being a Korean film that it's gonna be. It's not a Korean film as such, but obviously it touches on similar. You know, there's parallels there, isn't there? There's familiarity.
Yes. So,
but do you reckon that because of the success of Parasite and how it kind of, for a Western audience, it's made it a bit more forgiving to watch more heavily subtitled films for Westerners? Do you reckon it's going to do better off the back of that? I mean, it looks like an amazing film anyway. It looks like it would have been worth the watch. Also, executive producer Brad Pitt, by the way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's also sat on an 8 out of 10 so far from the early screenings. Yeah, I was fully agree with what you were saying. Bong Joon-ho said in his Oscars acceptance speech, like, once we get past that 3 centimeter gap at the bottom of a screen of subtitles, you can explore so many new stories. And I think that obviously you're going to draw parallels with this being about a Korean family, and it is largely Korean-speaking film as well. So you saw from the trailer, a lot of it is because they've just moved to the US, they don't speak English that much, so they are largely speaking in Korean, and it's about like a foreigner's journey, into America and everything like that, trying to get it set up. And I think people having a more wider accepted taste of Korean cinema will make them a bit more understanding of like an Asian based film. So we had Parasite, and we had The Farewell in all the award seasons and everything like that. So I think it has opened up a lot more people to that. Obviously, like you said, like, you're not just drawing parallels just because it is like another Korean spoken film, but you have to draw those parallels at the same time of what Parasite did for non-English speaking films, winning the Best Picture at the Oscars and stuff like that. And like the amount of money that it made at the box office, like, people are definitely more willing, they're definitely more open. Whether it is a Chinese spoken film or Japanese or Chinese or anything like that, like, I think people are going to closely correlate it with it being Korean. But yeah, I think definitely people are more open to this, and I think we need more films like this to keep coming out, ones that are getting so highly regarded, and especially with it having Stephen Yeun in the lead role as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is a face that Westerners know now from The Walking Dead and from other films.
Yeah.
So, like, this seems like after Parasite, this is going to bridge the gap even more with Western audiences getting more into foreign language films.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Very cool. So
I think that's a really roundabout way of saying what I wanted to say.
yeah.
But I got there.
You got there. The last trailer I want to talk about, because we do need to move on, is Borat.
This came out of nowhere. What? Like, you finally, the last dickhead at a party had finally stopped making Borat quotes. And then here is, like, Sacha Baron Cohen with a new Borat film, which comes out in, 22 days from the day of recording this? From the time you're hearing this, less than 20 days?
Which is, it's actually
on Amazon.
Scary, like, relevant. Like, how...
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, like I was, like, sort of, like, blown away by Staged, because, like, in the middle of a pandemic, this guy wrote a series, shot a series, edited it, and got it onto the BBC, and now it's on Netflix and everything like that. But Borat was clearly in production before the pandemic, but then halfway through the trailer, it's just there, like, oh shit, like, half of this, like, takes place during the pandemic. Like, they were making this film when the pandemic hit, so they just kind of kept rolling with it.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre to then see, like, such a big film that was done during the pandemic, which is finished and going out in 20 days.
Yeah, very
like,
strange.
It's bizarre to see something also talking about the pandemic at the same time. Like, oh, but it's a new Borat. It's going to be funny. It's going to be super cringy. It's going to have so many new quotes.
References. It's got some pretty funny references in there.
And it's so Sacha Baron Cohen last year, I think it was, did an undercover series where he dressed up as all these different characters and tried to get, like, American politicians to do stuff. And you see in this one as well, he goes to a Mike Pence rally, who, if you don't know, is running for vice president under Trump at the moment. So he dresses up as Trump. So you got Borat dressed as... So you got Sacha Baron Cohen dressed as Borat, dressed as Trump, like raiding one of his rallies.
Just incredible.
And it's just madness. It's going to be so funny, but it just means we're here for another 15 years of Borat quotes.
Here we go.
Yeah, like this caught me so off guard. Like, I saw it and I was like, maybe it's just like a clip from the first Borat film, but no, it's a new film. And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. It does look good though. Like, you think Borat would have been a bit worn out by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it looks like you could still have quite a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, like, I think Sacha Baron Cohen's such a great character actor that he doesn't let his characters outlive what they need. Like, Ali G left, like, when it was right, and, like, he only brings his characters back when he can do something appropriate with the characters. It doesn't seem like just a cash grab. It seemed like he thought of a new good scenario for the character.
Could you have ever foreseen that we would have talked about 2 Sacha Baron Cohen films in subsequent weeks? From, like, last week, I spoke about the Brothers Grimsby.
Well, there's 3 weeks. The week before that, we talked about the Trial of Chicago 7 as well, which he's also in.
Wow. Well, there we go.
The scope of Sacha Baron Cohen, like, he's a really good actor. He's a really versatile actor, which people don't seem to give him enough credit for because of characters like Borat and Ali G and stuff like that. People just see his comedic stuff, but then he is a good, serious actor at the same time.
Oh, yeah, defo.
Like, he's like, I really wish we got his version of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Because he was the one writing it as well. I think that would have been such an interesting look at this story of Queen before it became sort of a bit more fictionalized, a bit more of like a Freddie Mercury jack-off type thing.
Well, he was in that film The Spy as well, which was quite a serious film. Apparently,
was that a film or was that a series on Netflix?
Sorry, yeah, it was a series,
Limited season,
series, yeah. But that he got quite well reviewed for that.
Exactly, yeah, like. But he's done another Borat film, so people are just gonna remember him for Borat again. It's a weird sort of middle ground that he's in, but yeah, like, give me more Sacha Baron Cohen. Also, he's a weirdly amazing singer.
Is he really?
Yeah, he does like some like musicals and stuff like that. He was the innkeeper in Les Mis as well. Which, if you don't know Les Mis, he was the perfect casting for that character.
The guy is just so unafraid.
He really, really is. Like he has got a massive set on him to do the things that he does. Like I would just be too embarrassed to do any of the shit that he does, and he just fucking takes it in his stride. He's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it, and then I'll go do a really serious part next week just to level out my acting and karma.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna say that probably wraps us up to talk.
Yeah, there's a couple of trailers, but we don't really need to talk about them right now.
No. Right, Enola Holmes. So should we do spoilers, non-spoilers, or should we just jump straight in? What do you reckon?
I think there's only really one big spoiler that we don't talk about, which obviously it's a Sherlock like murder mystery type. Well, not murder mystery, but it's a mystery.
Okay.
So we leave the twist until the end. We'll leave the non-spoilers.
Yeah, we'll do that. So talking about this film. So what were your initial thoughts?
I didn't know how to feel about it going into it. I was like, how much of it is going to be Enola's story? How much of it's going to get hijacked by Henry Cavill being Sherlock or Sam Claflin being Moriarty?
Yeah.
And I was like, I really wasn't sure about the film going into it. Like, it looked like a good film, but I didn't know if it was going to last for the 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't know if it was going to hold its water. But I ended up leaving it really enjoying it. But like, it's a film that I'm probably not going to go back to. I would be all right if they made a sequel to it. But I really enjoyed it while it was there. But it's not left the biggest impression on me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Like, kind of walking away from it did feel a bit like, yeah, you know what, it was fine. But when you think about it, there was lots of parts of the film that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. It was a really enjoyable experience, and I know my partner, she really enjoyed it. She ended up crying at the end of it, and I think like it was to do with like the mother-daughter bond in it. You got Helena Bonham Carter playing Enola's mum, and I think it is very much. It seems like a good film for teenage girls to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was good to see Millie Bobby Brown being able to carry a film. Like, this is the first time really she's had a lead role in a film. I know she was in Gods and Monsters, wasn't she? Godzilla. But I don't think she was like the driving force of that film. I haven't seen it yet, but it doesn't seem like she was the driving force of that film. So it was nice to see her in a role that she seemed comfortable in, like leading. Like, there wasn't a scene without her in it, really. And she nailed it, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I think all the kind of fourth wall breaking and stuff that you have with her really kind of showed off her acting a lot.
It was good seeing the contrast. Like, she wasn't 11. Like, she lost that persona in this, which is like, I thought it was a great role for her to take because it's sort of broken that sort of, people typically only see her as 11 from Stranger Things, but for me in that film, she was Enola Holmes. She was like part of the role.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that you had a little bit of everything. You had a little bit of comedy, you had a little bit of drama, you had a little bit of, you had a bit of emotion, you had a little bit of everything from a character throughout the film.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling like this Enola Holmes film will kind of go down as like a, it might not be something that does well really now, but it'll be probably one of those things that younger audiences may check out on Netflix and actually come to really like it.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got supporting actors like Henry Cavill and Sam Claflin, and you've got I'm terrible with actresses' names. Let me get the cast list in front of me. I should get this in front of me.
Are you talking about a mum?
Yep.
Helena Bonham Carter.
That's it. Yeah. When I was watching that, I was just expecting Johnny Depp to come out of somewhere.
Yeah, like it's weird seeing her in a film that's not a Tim Burton film.
Yeah. And obviously you've got then the supporting cast are pretty good. You've got that Bern Gorman, who was in he was in Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim, yeah. I can never remember his name. I only ever remember him as Owen from Torchwood. We've spoken about him on like this podcast before, and I can never remember his name. Never once have I remembered his name. With a name like Byrne, like it's such a weird name. You would think I would remember it, but I don't. He's just Owen.
Bern Gorman.
Yeah. Fiona Shaw is in this, and she was great in this. She's great in most roles. She was in a trailer that we'll talk about next week, which she seems fantastic in. Adil Akhtar, I'm gonna say
Akhtar.
Yeah, he was great in this as well. He only had a very small role, but he's good in little roles like that where he just does just a little bit, and he always seems to nail it. Like he held his own, like with the cast that he was surrounded by, and Susie Wakoma.
Yeah.
I don't recall ever seeing her in anything before this.
She's done a couple of TV series. She's done,
a lot of British TV shows. But she took over like the screen when she was in like a scene with Henry Cavill. Like she held her own against him, and I was like, okay, this is someone to look out for in future. If she gets more like starts building up smaller roles like this, then I could definitely see her like lead in a series or lead in like a small film or something like that.
So we need to talk about Henry Cavill because
the jawline himself.
Well, I feel like a lot of people were expecting this film to be screen jacked by his Sherlock Holmes because it is an Enola Holmes film, but when you have Sherlock Holmes and he's being played by Henry Cavill, you just kind of expect for it to be jacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's a very good Sherlock Holmes.
He was a good Sherlock Holmes, and there's been a lot of talk about maybe him getting his own film. Like, people are crying out for him to get his own Sherlock film now.
I just think people like to watch films with Henry Cavill in them. I don't know what it is.
I love to watch Henry Cavill. He's magnetic on screen, isn't he? He's like what Tom Cruise was in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. You just can't get enough of him on screen. On anything he's in The Witcher, in even the Superman that he plays in this, he's just great.
Men from U.N.C.L.E., he's just he does good in sort of like established roles, doesn't he? Like he does really good. I think we spoke about this when we talked about The Witcher and when we've talked about his Superman in the past. He's good at taking an established character and just learning to be the character, and like. He loves playing roles like that. You don't see him as much taking on like a character that's never been on something before. Like if there's backstory and like 50 years of history for a character, like he seems to nail those characters, which like in all terms should be difficult to nail because there's been that many different interpretations of him. But he seems to just be everyone's version of that character. Like when you think of Geralt now, you think of Henry Cavill. When you think of Superman, you think of Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Like our generation didn't have the Men from U.N.C.L.E. TV show, but he clearly did his research on the character before doing the film. And now, whenever I think of like Cold War spy thrillers and stuff like that, I'm always like, oh, Henry Cavill's good at them and stuff like that. And like, but I thought the exact same thing as you. I was like, I hope, because this is meant to be like Millie Bobby Brown's big break. It's meant to be a film about Enola Holmes. She's the lead character. She's the title character. They've got to give her the screen time. And when Sherlock and I said Moriarty before, it's not. It's Mycroft. Moriarty's one of the villains in the Sherlock Holmes books. Yeah. When they first appeared, like as soon as they got off the train, they were like the main focus of like the next 4 or 5 scenes, and like Enola was sort of like sided for those couple scenes, but that was just to set up the stakes of the film.
Yeah.
And I did get a bit worried at that point. I was like, oh no, don't shelve her, because that's really not what this character, not what this story is meant to be about.
Yeah.
And they used that really well to set the stakes of the film and put it in motion.
Yeah, and I liked how they used them. They used both the Mycroft and the Sherlock Holmes character to make her the underdog of the film.
Yeah.
You got that feeling straight away when they get off the train. Isn't it kind of funny that you've had Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Superman all play Sherlock now? I was just thinking about this in my head.
It is now that you put it like that, yeah. It
but,
really is.
I mean, digressing a bit. So, Sam Claflin as Mycroft. Have you seen him in Peaky Blinders yet?
I've seen all of Peaky Blinders, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. I really liked his performance because there was a lot of parts of his performance in this as Mycroft that reminded me of his performance in Peaky Blinders. And he plays amazing. He plays
sinister gentleman really well, doesn't he?
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed his performance. I just loved how he was like the snobby, I'm better than all of you, even my brother, and blah blah blah. And I just liked how he was that kind of good but bad guy.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, talking about Millie Bobby Brown, I think she was flawless in this. I think she was really good. She really carries the film all the way through. And
yeah,
some of my favourite parts of this film is where she breaks the fourth wall and talks to the camera. There was a lot of bits, like even just like eye contact, where it's like fourth wall breaking and she was just looking at the camera to give a reaction to something.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of films that do that nowadays, especially since Deadpool. Like, the fourth wall break is like, it's being used a bit too often, and I was a bit anxious about it leading into this, but it worked. The flow of it worked. Like, the way she was just able to just like reference the camera and stuff like that subtly and stuff, and it felt like you were watching her recounting the story, and it felt like it gave me like a warm, comfortable feeling from like, I really liked the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes films, and like he has a voiceover throughout that all the time and stuff like that, and you get to hear what's going on inside his head a lot, and it kind of tied that in for me. Like it's got like, it feels like a certain vibe that Sherlock Holmes films and stuff give me now. So it felt like it lined up with that, and it made her world seem very lived in at the same time. Like, I thought she nailed it, and being able to play with the camera because she was in every scene, it gave her like someone else other than these often two-dimensional characters. It gave her something else to play off.
Yeah, exactly. This film, I felt like you said, it did give you like a bit of a warm feeling when you're watching it. There's lots of points where like there's a lot of feel-good moments in it, like kind of cheery, happy moments. The music's really good in this, the way it kind of drives it a lot. There's a lot of focus on kind of, it's quite musical throughout, like lots of like almost a bit Disney-ish, if you get me. It's a bit of like a Disney-esque film. But yeah, no, I quite
felt like a really charming female-driven performance for young females. Like, it felt like this, it's based off young adult novels, so it's based off novels aimed for like 15-year-old girls, and it felt like a film that very much like 15-year-old girls should watch. Like, I've seen somebody say that it modernized Sherlock, and it modernized like the tales of Sherlock and Enola and stuff like that. It modernized them really well, considering it's set in when's it set? The 1800s, something like that.
Something like that.
I think 1800s. Like, considering it's set in the 1800s, it's more of a modern retelling of it. It felt like the Dev Patel, David Copperfield film that came out at the beginning of the year. It had that sort of like perfect depiction of like old London and stuff like that. And it feels like a really nice, charming world to be in. Like, it was perfect for Enola to be in, and she was modernizing the world as she went along.
Yeah, and it was quite stylistic at the same time. Like, I liked how in the intro you had that, it was almost like that paper not paper mache, but old style character perform. I don't know, like when you'd have
it's like, it was like a puppet show almost. Isn't it?
Yeah, it was a puppet show.
It's like it was something that like it reminded again. It made me feel warm. It reminded me of like stuff that my nan and granddad would do for me as a kid. Like my nan used to do like silly puppet shows and stuff like that, and it felt like a child who's like, you know, like you're in on a rainy day type thing. And so because she was an only child, essentially she brought up. Essentially, because she was brought up, her brothers were a lot older, so it was just her and a mum in the house, and she said like it was just the two of them. So it felt like her making her own entertainment, and this is how she would tell stories and stuff like this, was with like this little like cut out puppet show almost.
Cool. Shall we move on to just talking about the actual spoilery parts of the film now?
Well, just before we go on to that, I was like, what did you feel about like the romantic-esque sort of plot of the film? Because it wasn't like a proper romance, but it was in the same way. It was like budding young love type thing, like just flirting with the idea of it, but they didn't make her character, they didn't make her a typical female character of like, if she doesn't find love in a film, she's not a female character.
Yeah.
Like, it just flirted with the idea of it, didn't it?
It did, but it did feel a bit forced at the same time. It did feel a little bit shoehorned. That, I don't know. For me, it felt a bit shoehorned in. I think it kind of needed it, because I think it needed a little bit of everything. But I don't know. Yeah, it was fine. But I don't think that's not the part of the story that was gripping for me. Like, that wasn't what I took away from the film.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not what I took away from the film, but it was nice that they were able to... I think the plot line of the case that she's following with the Viscount going missing and stuff like that, I think that was like a really good plot line for her to look into, and I think that was like, they clearly chose like one of the better Enola Holmes novels to start off with, and it did allow them the chance to like give her sort of that like flirt with the idea of a romance subplot, but they're not romantically involved. It's just like they've got a kinship for one another, haven't they? So I think it gave them chance to give her like a stereotypical sort of like, she's a female lead, so she needs like a love arc in the film, but she didn't have a love arc. But they kind of like insinuated that there could have been one in the future. Like, it sort of left off with like, oh, maybe in a later film or something like that. Like, these two characters have crossed paths, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But like, they didn't lean too heavily into it. Like, they didn't whittle her down to just being like, you're a female character, so you need a romance.
So while we're talking about this, because it kind of links in a little bit, I was quite surprised at some of the violence in this film. When it hit.
like Burns' character, like, there was a lot of a middle-aged man wailing on a...
Yeah, we're getting into spoiler territory now, by the way. Yeah.
There was a lot of middle-aged men beating up a young girl type thing, and I was a bit like, he's really kicking her hard considering he's a young girl. But then I was like, oh, but he is like a hired killer, so I kind of guess it. Like, but then she holds her own against him.
Yeah,
I think it was a little bit like on the nose, sort of like, oh, she can't master the corkscrew maneuver, and then she managed to master it right at the end to take him out. Like as an older viewer, sort of like you see that coming a mile off type thing, but it shows you like the character arc and the progression of a character type thing. But to a younger audience, then like that's what you need to show a younger audience. Like, you see the struggle, like it makes it more obvious for a younger audience that it's character progression, doesn't it? Whereas as an older viewer, we know what they're trying to do.
Yeah. I was quite surprised at the Burns character hitting his head the way he did. I legit thought he had been impaled through the head.
Yeah.
when I saw
me and my
that.
partner did. Like, we both were like, whoa! And then, like, when he just sort of rolled off it, was like, oh, it was just blunt force trauma, that's fine.
Yeah, that was like, whoa, this took a dark turn very, very quick. I was like, oh no. But yeah.
Did you pick up on the mystery throughout this film?
To be honest, I kind of got to the end and I was a bit like, I didn't really even think about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't. For what it should have been in terms of a mystery film, I didn't feel much mystery. It was kind of the whole payoff of, oh, they were trying to get him because of his political beliefs and da 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 da. I was like, well, yeah, but right, okay. It didn't feel. I don't know whether it was the stakes of the mystery wasn't that much of a big deal. I feel the stakes were more about what was going on with the mum.
Yeah, see, because it's clearly got two plot lines. She's trying to find a mum, and then she gets entangled with this case with the Viscount, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And, like, that's what I was thinking. Like, it feels like the first, like, 2/3 of this film almost, or half the film, is the plot line with a mum, and then it sort of gets overtaken by the Viscount story, which I think was good because it showed that she was able to hand, like, a mystery and, like, all this by herself, and she was able to outwit even Sherlock.
Yeah.
Which was good for her character arc, but it meant that it lost the plot from the first half of the film, which was finding a mum, which then they wrapped up in the last 3 minutes of the film.
Yeah, and that was kind of my problem. I think that's why I kind of walked away from it. I was like, yeah, it was fine, because it was like, I don't know whether it just felt like there was trying to be too much put into it, or like it was trying
it felt
to do
like two stories collided in the middle, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt like it was trying to do too much in one film.
Yeah, too much, but not that much. Obviously, we're not the target demographic. We are older, so
clearly.
we would pick up on things a lot more. So, like I thought the same thing as you. I was like, yeah, obviously, like, it's his family trying to do it to change the political vote. He's got a seat, so he's got sway in the decision. I thought that was very obvious as well. The surprise for me was that it wasn't the uncle, because even, like, Enola leading up to it thought it was the uncle, because that's what the evidence led to. Obviously, it was a red herring, which is where the mystery sort of element comes from, which for a younger audience, they wouldn't have seen coming until it was sort of handed to them.
Yeah.
So I saw it, I was like, oh, it must be the uncle. And then when it's revealed at the end to be what we thought was the loving grandma, I was like, okay, that's interesting.
But let me
at
ask
that point, I think what you were trying to say is there's not much stakes in that story, because we already know that the Viscount's safe, and because we've been following his journey. Like, there's not really much stakes to it, because we know the outcome pretty much, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you, when it got to that point where it revealed that it was the grandma and not the uncle that they thought it was going to be, did you really care?
No, not that much.
No.
Like,
yeah.
It just sort of felt like a conclusion. It didn't feel like, oh, this is the conclusion of the film. Like I think it was more of Enola's payoff. Like, she managed to crack the code. Like, she managed to, like, solve the mystery. It was more of an emotional climax of the film, like not emotional. Sorry, like the end of a character arc. Like, she established who she was going to be in the world. She went from someone who was just trying to chase after her mum to then being her making her own stake in the world by becoming a detective like a brother.
Yeah. I think it was just kind of
yeah.
to wrap up all the loose ends.
Yeah. Really. I did think genuinely that he had been shot, but then I was like, they're not going to do that to, like, this character in this sort of film. I was like, yeah. But I was like, how has he survived that? Because I was like, that's a shotgun from pretty close. My question is, how is it in the 2 seconds from Byrne shooting over the suit of armor in front of him to walking up and pretty much putting a gun to him, did he get a chance to unbutton his jacket, take the suit of armor off, put the suit of armor on, and then do his jacket back up and everything? I was like, that didn't seem really plausible, but it's literal plot armor. Like,
It is literal plot armor, yeah.
Like, the grandma was lucky that she was stood just far enough away that shotgun did not go through that armor, because that armor is incredibly thin. Like, a shotgun would go straight through that and kill him anyway.
Oh dear. Plot armor, everybody.
Yeah. Like you said, like, it's a really good, enjoyable film when you think about, like, different elements of it and stuff like that. When you're watching it, you're sort of left with the feeling of, like, okay, yeah. Like, but when you think about, like, the performances and stuff like that, you're like, oh, that was like, really good. Like, it's sort of like a weird, lukewarm film until you think about certain aspects of it, and then you're like, when you break it down, it seems like a better film than it was your enjoyment at the end of it.
Yeah, and it's probably not a film that you should think too much about, even though it's a mystery film. I think it relies on you just enjoying it and not thinking into it too much. Because I think if you think into it too much, I think that's when it starts to think, yeah, no, it wasn't made for people like that. It was made for you just casual viewing.
Yeah, it was aimed towards a teenager. It was aimed towards a teenage girl, so we're not the target audience. Like we've seen enough mystery films and stuff like that. Like, that it wasn't really much of a mystery.
No.
I think it's more of a character journey film. And a younger audience would probably think it's more of a mystery. But if you've watched enough mystery films as we have, you can put it 2 and 2 together within, like, the first half hour of the film.
Yeah, literally. Right. Does that wrap it up?
I think that wraps it up. What would you give it out of 10?
I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay, yeah. I would say for a younger audience, it's definitely like an 8 out of 10. For me, probably like 7 out of 10.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. Let us know what you thought about Enola Holmes. What did you think? Would you
watch a sequel?
Yeah. Would you also like to see a spin-off with Henry Cavill in a Sherlock Holmes movie? Maybe
I would.
Maybe a Moriarty arc, maybe. That'd be pretty cool. Who would you put as
Hound of the
Moriarty?
Baskervilles.
against him? Who would you put as Moriarty?
Oh, against Henry Cavill.
Michael Shannon?
Oh, I nearly said Ben Affleck for a second. I was like, do we just meme
CGI
it?
monster?
Jesse Eisenberg?
Jesse Eisenberg.
Army Hammer. Oh, actually, I did tell you who I would cast. Simon Pegg.
As Moriarty?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
Or Andy Serkis.
Well, we've had Jared Harris. He played Moriarty, didn't he?
Yeah, in the TV series.
And then you had Andrew.
Oh no, he was
in the film.
He was in Web of Shadows, not Web of Shadows.
A Game of
Web
Shadows.
Game of Shadows.
And then you had Andrew Scott as the Moriarty from the TV series.
From the TV series. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I'm sort of like thinking of like maybe like a Simon Pegg, or like, because it's sort of like, point of Moriarty in his first couple stories is like you kind of don't suspect anything about him, and like he's just sort of like a quiet, like, and he just outbrains Sherlock. So I think that's why I'm thinking like somebody like Simon Pegg is like inconspicuous in that film.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting.
Also, I just kind of want to see Simon Pegg and Henry Cavill on screen together more. Like when they were in Mission Impossible, I thought they like bounced off each other pretty well.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. It's pretty fair. Right, okay, cool. Let us know. What was you asking people? Let us know if you'd like to see a spin-off with Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes. Would you like to see a sequel? Would you like to see more stories of Enola Holmes? Hit us up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram @GetRealPod. Let us know. You can also email into the show. We will read out letters. I'm saying it right now. If you send us any letters, tweet at us. We will read those things out. Absolutely.
Even if you call us buttheads or something.
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis
Also,
and
if you
Buttheads.
checked us out recently, the Witcher episode has been doing well again. People are still listening to the Witcher episode, and that was like
Maybe it's a Henry Cavill thing.
Yeah.
Whenever we seem to talk about Henry Cavill, it seems to do better.
Yeah, we're now on this our most listened to episode by
is.
quite a bit. Yeah,
And it was what, episode 3?
episode 3. Yeah,
Like, and
What-
it's got more listens in like the last like 6 months than it did in the first 6 months of being out.
it's very strange. I don't know whether it hit some weird kind of algorithm. Maybe it's just the Henry Cavill.
Renaissance.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, how can people support the podcast, Chris?
Support us. The best way to do it is leave a rate and review on whatever podcast network you listen to us on. Share us with a friend. Share us with 2 friends. Podchaser. I forget the name almost entirely until I start to say it. Podchaser. If you leave a rate and review on that, it syndicates it to all of our other networks. So that is the best place to leave it. Yeah, just share us about. Get more people interested. Comment on all our socials. Share our socials around. That's too many S's for me to say. But
Share our socials.
Share our socials around with your socials and share with a friends and social shows.
Very good. What are we going to cover next week?
Um,
It's sad because next week or this week should have been our Wonder Woman episode, and that's really sad.
no.
Oh.
Films are never gonna come out. What? I feel like there is something coming out in the next few days. I feel like it's like I think there's some films coming out on Amazon and stuff like that. Maybe, or maybe we could do one of the ideas we got in the back pocket for like you said, best and worst superhero portrayals and stuff like that.
Yeah. We got a couple of ones.
We didn't do our boys recap, so we'll do 2 episodes next week.
Yeah, we've not watched The Boys yet. We've got in a weird habit of recording this on a Thursday. So when The Boys comes out on a Friday.
Yeah, we haven't discussed episode 6 on the podcast yet.
No, we haven't, have we?
Even though that came out over... episode 7 is out by the time people are listening to this. So we'll do like 6 and 7 probably next week, and then the final episode
the
week
after.
But that'll just be a little segment of it. We'll take like 15 minutes to talk about that maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think it's really good. I think The Boys is like one of the best shows airing this year.
Yeah, we love it. And there's not that many episodes left of The Boys either.
2. It's only 8 episodes, so
That's
we've got
sad.
tomorrow's episode for us, and then next week's.
Cool. Right, we will catch you next time. See ya.
Bye now. And that was how I solved the mystery of Get Real. Both twisting our mustaches that we've got.
But is it real or is it real?
Ooh. Find out in the next episode of Get Real.
A Get Real, a game of TV shows.